for a call back. And to me, that was special. Reading his message through Facebook and seeing that he was like, listen, I wasn't expecting that. What a blessing. I didn't think I had that in me. Which, I mean, to be honest with you, this guy that I'm talking about he has this cinema, what's the word? He has this presence when it comes to horn playing it's powerful, that's personal, that makes a difference. He studied with really well-known players. And you were lucky enough to study with them, but also now he's a mentor and he has that journey. And it's so fascinating of how as a classical music artist I can relate to that because I never felt good enough. I never felt good enough. People are like, "Oh, you're this great horn player," or "Oh, you have this amazing your sound. I've never heard anything like it." This da 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 da, But then you have your own professor saying, "Well, you're not just gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. You're not good enough. Your mental stability is wrong. Sorry that you're going through a whole lot of stuff in your personal life, but you're just not good enough." As I got older, I've realized who gives a fuck about what the peanut gallery says, even my mentors. I will take what I want from it and I'm going to move on with my life. Mind you, in a horn lesson, you're with them every single week and you're literally dealing with their opinions every single week. And I love my horn professors. Like I adored them. They were great people. It was like I do with my mom. Some of them had narcissistic personalities. Some of them had issues with themselves that they reflected in certain days back off of me. We are human on both sides of the scale, but it should not stop you from doing great things. And I look back and like I said, some of the stuff is still blanked out. Like I still have moments where I'm like, I don't remember that memory. Like my mom will tell me something and I'll be like, I don't remember that. There'll be times when I watch a video and I'm like, it will start ringing a bell of what happened during that time because as you get older, things start getting hazy. And I knew I had to talk about this sometime soon before it gets too hazy because I have stopped playing. It's been 9 years since I've stopped playing. Now I still do voice. It's an interesting story because way back when I was younger, my uncle, I was in the car or van, and we had the radio on, and I was belting. Like I don't remember, I was singing. And he looked at my mom and he says, "I wonder if she can hear herself because she can't sing." And I heard that being like 6 or 7. And I never thought I could sing all the way up until college. And it wasn't until when I transferred to another university, one of the professors there was like, "You have a voice," and I was like, "No, I don't. You're crazy. I've been told I can't sing over and over again. I'm like tone deaf." And then I had a professor who I just love her, but she did lessons with me, but like solo, like sound ear training lessons with me, and we found out that I was always 5 octaves down low because of horn. Horn is five, from the scale of the C, we're always five below, and so I was always able to, I was able to pitch at different pitches because of my horn playing. So I was playing in horn by my voice, if that makes sense. And I could tell which note it was by like I would sit there and say the horn letters, but it was actually the piano letters, transfer position. Sorry, you guys, it's been 9 years. Just deal with my wrongful, you have to understand. Just you understand what I'm saying. Just roll with the punches. You understand what I'm saying, everyone. But when it comes to like the facts is that you have different mentors that care for you. You have mentors that do stomp on you. I've sat in clinics of like such big dogs, and it's been an honor to sit there and meet them and shake their hands and talk to them. And my anxiety always stopped me from like going further and saying, "Hey, I want to study under you," or "I don't feel good enough." There was one time that I sat because we put these people on these pedestals is what I'm saying. We put these big people on these pedestals when they're human just like you. And I think that's the reason why I do what I do now is to realize, to kind of take those pedestal people off and put them equals, and then your anxiety goes away. Now, mind you, I still have narrow vision. when I introduce myself to people, sometimes, especially big crowds. But that's not anything to do with personality of saying, oh, this person's big. I don't care if you make $1 billion or 6,000 or $6 billion a year. I really could give a crap. What matters to me is how you are as inside of your person, inside of who you are. I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care how many likes you get on a post. I do not care that you make all this money as long as your heart's in the good place. I care about that. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that is what my mission is. And I wish it would have been a long time ago when I was younger to do that. Because my heart was not in that mindset. My heart was like, oh, well, these guys are so big that I'm going to beat that big too. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be this horn superstar and blah, blah, blah. And you sit there and you humble yourself a lot as you get older. And you realize also that it's a bunch of bullshit. And I hate to swear in my podcast, but it's my podcast, so I can. But it is this classical music is stigma of who you know. It's fascinating because people they throw names out all the time. Oh, well, I know this person, or I know this person, or I played here and here and here, and here's my resume, and good for you. But when you look at certain people like the jazz community, who I absolutely adore the jazz community because they are so humbled. They listen, they have been around the block. They are walked over, they are looked over. People go and pay to listen to them. But to be honest with you, a lot of people don't realize that you're sitting next to a blues artist or a jazz artist. You don't realize that this individual is breaking boundaries. It's fascinating to sit there and just know the history of those other genres when the classical music world is so into themselves because, man, we play Mozart and Beethoven. Go fuck Mozart and Beethoven, let's just be honest. Just go fuck them because clearly you can't look outside yourself. The question of, oh, well, our interpretation, we have to do Mozart and Beethoven and Brahms this way. Well, yes, we want to honor our past. We want to honor our past. They're big names. But remember, Mozart died pretty poor. He was not liked when he was living, and all of a sudden we like him. And that's a whole different category. It's a whole different conversation, which we can have. And I love that kind of conversation, a deep convo of why we don't support the artists now. But the classical music world tends to take that and then they milk it, you can say. Oh, well, we're going to be this beautiful, we're just not going to be liked until we die. And we're, this arts thing going on. And the arts world is like that too, the painting world in certain aspects. And, don't get me started on the auction houses. But the fact of the matter is this pedestal these musicians put, these mentors, these older musicians, it's just stupid. And then you also look at people that are also older musicians. I had an amazing conversation a long time ago with one of my mentors, and she was like, as I get older, I'm not going to have a spot in a symphony anymore. And I looked at her, I was like, why? And I was like, you're a beast. I said, you have this sound, and I mean, you're I'm training under you. And she was like, because what happens is that they don't think we have the stamina to keep playing like the younger generation does. And then a new one comes along. And I know that is emotionally hard to talk about as we get older. It's just in general, you can reflect this on everything. But as we get older, you seem to not be worth as much. And that's false. That's not true. As you get older, you should be worth because you've lived life. You've been through it. Now, mind you, yes, a lot of younger generation like I have lived through life. At a younger age, though, I've been through it. And I'm not afraid to admit it. And I sit there and say, you know what, I have an old soul. I just know what I am capable of. But I listen to my elders. I listen to the individuals that walk before me because I learn things from them because I don't want to keep repeating these mistakes that the older generation have already, made. It's a tough conversation to have. And I'm reflecting this on the classical music world because that's where I've seen it firsthand. That's where I've experienced it. It's the reason why I do not play French horn anymore. I sold my horn to a beautiful individual out in California. And it's going to make me teary-eyed because that horn, that Yamaha was my baby. It was my baby. I loved it just as much. It's like somebody dealing with a bike, like a motorcycle. I loved it beyond life. and it went with, like, it was in the practice room with me when I cried. I put my emotions into it. It was with me, you know, through everything I've been through. It's been there. It's seen me fail. It's seen me succeed. It's seen me everything, even though it's a piece of metal. And that emotional standpoint. And when I stopped playing, right when my son went into the hospital, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just emotionally was sick and tired of, number one, feeling like a failure, and number two, I don't know, I hate to reflect it off my horn, but I just felt like I wasn't good enough for this world anymore, that I was not in a good place. And on top of that, I wasn't getting the support that I needed. And mind you, you can't reflect that onto them because a lot of them didn't sign up to be that big emotional support system. They were just colleagues. There was boundaries there. But you live your life. Like, the toxic environment of saying, "Oh, you know, we're colleagues or we work together and we should have no emotional attachment," is a bunch of bullshit, because you live, eat, and breathe these people. They do become family, a dysfunctional family at times. And people don't realize that, is that every person you meet, you become a family member as to if they stick around. And if you've been with them for like 10 years or 5 years, that's a long time. And they've seen weddings, and they're probably invited to weddings, or you're invited to your meet your husband and wife, and they're invited to meet your children. You see them growing up. Like, it's a community. And people don't realize that if you have a bad apple in the community, or lack of support system, or like just not a good situation going on even behind your scenes, and you try to keep a happy face, and you just are not, like, this, it's like a toxic environment, you can say. And that's what it comes to when it comes to this educational music world. um you know, it's, teachers are everything. Teachers make us who we are. We're all teachers, to be honest with you. All of us, doesn't matter if you have a degree on a wall or not. You are all teachers because you all have lived life. People are like, well, it's not book smart. Well, it doesn't give, who gives a fuck? You are living life. You walk your own path, and you have something to teach. You do. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a crazy person. There's something there that you're going to teach somebody. So we're all, and my therapist, who I talked to him the other day, my therapist, who's now retired in South Carolina, close to Myrtle Beach. He's loving life. But he, you know, he was like, we're teachers and students, like the most humble way, teachers and students to the day we die. He's like, we're never going to stop. And when he mentioned that to me a long time ago, right between the time when I was getting out of the abusive situation and stopping music, I real like that gave me power back, because I always felt like a student. I never felt good enough. I never felt good enough to teach. I always felt like they were putting, like, my mentors who were supposed to help me explore my creativity and my awkwardness and just who I am, wanted me to form me to like what they wanted me to be as a musician, or how they thought life was supposed to be. When really the oyster of the music world is it's crazy and it's amazing, and you shouldn't have to put yourself in a box. Now, mind you, now I run a bike organization. Went left field, took my time out, and I said, I'm done with the music world. I'll take what my energy is for the music world that I could have put in there. I'm going to take it to a bigger, broader environment. And I'm also going to make a difference in a bigger, broad environment. And who knows, maybe I'll coincide, because a lot of the classical musicians, you know, you don't see bikers at concert halls. You know, you don't really see a lot of real bikers. I've never ran into one in 13 years of me playing. And there's a lot of older, I hate to say this way, retirees, depending on the area you're in, a lot of older white rich people that pay for these symphony worlds. And mind you, classical music, I talked to one guy and he said, well, you know, iTunes, like, you know, top 10 or something are all classical music. And he says the younger generation is listening to classical music. There's a huge intake for classical music for those younger generations, and it's coming back. It's coming big. I don't think it's never went away. I just think the younger generation doesn't like your pomp and circumstance shit that these older generations have been doing. And it's not all of them. Like I said, it's not everybody. So I'm not trying to generalize it all. I'm just trying to express that, you know, it's there's just a lot more to it. And it's a tough dialogue. So, like, me trying to explain, like, without saying names, without saying experiences, I'm just trying to express that I pray through this podcast, and there's going to be a lot more of it, that we lower that